not just sell to this one, this is a third party. It doesn't work like that. That's the product that Enugu is endowed with. We've developed also in Nsukka the yellow pepper. Spices everywhere is highly medicinal, especially this COVID period. I discovered that, so we developed that. And Nsukka pepper, the yellow pepper, has the aroma that if you use few of them in a pot of soup, you must perceive it. So these things are the kind of things we are talking about. These are a deliberate export promotion and export development activities we're putting in place to do that. The same with scent leaf. I have somebody in Lagos who said, okay, if you produce this XYZ scent leaf, I will buy off completely and process for export. These are the things you're doing. Don't sell anything. Vegetable in Anambra, has a hub for vegetable. We are trying to see how we can develop that with all the things because they have. Now, with the Kola is good at logistics, we're looking at how can we move these things, you know, to Europe and the rest of those things with a minimum processing so that because of the perishable nature. These are some of the things in the products we are developing and we are deliberate. We don't want to sell, just sell. We must add value. We must, in the area of labeling and packaging, it is important we do this so that at the end of the day, the things that we normally suffer the rejection, oh, it doesn't meet the standard. And once a product is rejected in international market, the morale of the person, the image of the country, the financial implication of that and all that, that is a gamut. And we don't want, we've suffered enough of rejection. That's why we deliberately go all out to make sure we talk about the quality. We get people to train on the quality, the global gap, the organic certification and all that. We must get these things right because that is the way to move away from oil. Oil, you know, we can make more. Yesterday, I was talking about the 2021 budget that they said, oh, what's it called? Oh, there's a deficit of 14 billion or thereabout. So how are we going to finance that? We don't want to borrow. We have what it takes to, you know, develop our export, diversify. If we had done what we ought to do, that aspect of oil should have been for the oil was meant to service the non-oil while it was there, so that by now we should be talking about oil. But then it doesn't really matter. We can still. Paula met some very interesting thing yesterday. Don't even let us wait for the government. The private sector, network, you know, collaborations and linkages, bilateral relationships, what Kano and Lagos is trying to do. These are the kind of things that should be found at all levels so that it could be bilateral, it could be multilateral. Let's partner and make sure we move and drive this. This sector is, whether we like it or not, non-oil sector is a way, is a next line of defense for any economy. The Nigerian economy, the non-oil export is the next line of defense. In this AfCFTA, if we put these things right, we will always excel. We will always have, there's nothing we don't have in this country. Literally speaking, there's nothing we don't have. In one form or the other, we can export. Then, let me not, on the services side. The services is where, you know, we need to leverage. This is a low-hanging fruit for us. There is nowhere, there's no going back if we don't do it this day. I was talking with somebody and they said, look, the pest tag that was bought, the guys that bought the pest tag started in South Africa. That means, you know, if we know what that means. They also have a link in one of the companies, the fintech in South Africa. So if they combine their effort, and the one, South Africa, by the way, is another strong thing for fintech. So if they now combine the one they bought from us with that one, that means they have already positioned themselves for a big deal in the AfCFTA services sector. Therefore, we can leverage. I was telling them the remitter, we can do a little bit more. Toyin, you are doing something with the African Union and Afri-Exim Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, they try to help, you know, to give them a soft thing. They can also, if I don't know how you are going to, you know, help them to extend, because they said they have a 2-year stop services with them, this remitter. They need to do more than just 2 years. They need, because they couldn't get this. It's important. I told them, okay, we can look for partners who are already in this country so you can leverage, you know. This is what we should do deliberately. This is trade promotion. And do that. There's nothing that can stop us. We have the comparative advantage in so many forms, which is also some of the sectors that is acceptable or that is included in the AfCFTA services negotiation. It's important we deliberately. And I also will talk about the MRA, that's Mutual Recognition Agreement. You know, we should also start to work on that now that we are ratifying the edition, so that we don't, when people from this side, we know there should be any kind of discrimination. We should be able to do these things. Non-oil is the next line of defense for any economy, any world economy. Oil is going, whether we like it or not. Oil is going. The, what do you call it? The climate change, the greenhouse emission, and the rest of this has taken the minds of the entire world off fossil fuel. Therefore, we have what it takes to develop. That's why the Oyibo man will always come to Africa. They will always come to Nigeria, because they say, oh, we are this, we are that, but they know without this nation, this continent, a lot of their activities is stifled. They will not tell us that, but we know some of these things. Why would the Netherlands, CBI, will come and we want to train people in quality product for sesame seed, for cashew, for cocoa? Because they know half of the, I mean, 1/3 of the cocoa goes, they import from us. As at 2011, I mean 2017 or 18, we produce about 250 metric tons of cocoa in Nigeria. 240 alone went to Netherlands. So we're now struggling with this one. Maybe we don't consume these things all that. So they look at it, oh, this is a way for us to want to do this. So it's important. I think I will. Let's not forget one thing. Quality is key. Is the one that drives the made in Nigerian thing. Then value orientation. Let us begin to say, some of us, we like Oyibo food, Oyibo product, Oyibo this. It is not always the case. Let us do what others are doing. There are some people that the Chinese don't bother about too much of English and too much of this. They prefer their product. Their bar product is good. I have tested some of them. I'm not saying there are some that are bad. I was in Aba some weeks again. I saw the power line, the shoes, where they pack those shoes on the road, full in bags and sacks, ready for export. But it's informal. Another thing we need to do, please, Kola, I think is there, he's working on the Nasima. Let's try to formalize this export. Tony, we need a lot to do, because when people take these things informally, one, you can't account for it. Secondly, the quality may not always be there, and there's no traceability. So therefore, they just put, it compromises the integrity of our product, because people do just say, oh, some people carry in a briefcase, some smuggled in, and so on. As far as we are concerned, if you don't go through the processes, it is smuggling, and we can't account for it. And it's important we try to put some structures that will encourage people to want to do the thing legitimately and officially, so that at the end of the day, where there are problems, we can always say, oh, go to this place, do that, do these aspects to have a good quality product. Then on the investment side, final note, I don't know why up to now, it is a burden, a big problem for us in Export Promotion Council, because if you have a truckload of product, some of these things might be perishable. It has a time ban. To move from Apapa or Isolo Express, Oshodi Solo, to Apapa Wharf, sometimes it might take about a month. And this is counterproductive. So I don't know how, Toyin, these are areas where we should also think about. People say, come in there and invest in this, and these are problems that need solution. So that's basically my take on this.
Wow. My goodness. This is like juicy stuff. I saw some people online that were like, oh my goodness, we're enjoying, this is so interesting. This is what Nigerians need to hear. This is the work ahead of us. And you said, and I quote, non-oil is the next line of defense for Nigeria.
That's exactly.
So I welcome our executive speakers, honorable speakers, Honorable Francis, I see you. Please, I welcome you into this conversation. But this is one thing that is in my mind right now from a market entry strategy. You and I, we've spoken offline, but this is the challenge ahead. At the international regional market, where you're talking about finished goods. So let me just assume value addition has happened, right? Your proposition, like value addition from a net NEPC standpoint, let's just assume we've taken care of value addition. Let's also assume that the quality is there. Those are two requirements, but let's just say both of those are on point. Here is the other market entry challenge that we have. Is that at the global level, when you remove the middlemen, remember yesterday we talked about aggregators, off-takers, the OLAMs, they are middlemen, okay? When you remove the middlemen, the end buyer that is actually going to take these finished goods to the end consumers on big platforms like Amazon's, the Walmarts. Let's say we are talking to those buyers. Here's the biggest challenge: capacity. Capacity and standardization. So those major buyers, this is the work OLAM, the work that they do, the middle player does. If you eliminate them, there's a gap. Because what the global market is looking for, what I am looking for, is capacity, volume. To say, if I bring a contract to your region for 1 million pieces of shoes in 2021 for my brand, how do we organize your region to standardize the product to do that? Because so let me give, this is what China does. China has a face to the world. They go out there, they make promises, they talk about their capacity, they get the BPO, 1 million pieces. Because, yesterday I think I shared, I used to manage apparel merchandising strategy for the world's biggest retailer. So merchandising apparel in the global market has a 9-month cycle. What it means is all trade deals are locked in 9 months ahead. The reason is because you actually need that 9 months after you get the buying contract to go into your supply chain and order all the raw commodities. So if you're making a shirt, your buttons, your zips, everything, it takes that, you need that 9 months before the first shipment actually goes out. These are the things we're trying to educate, to say, okay, quality is one, but standardization and capacity and streamlining the supply chain. So I'm happy Barrister Kola is also here. We appreciate what I'm talking about. The buying gets done. So China would now take that purchasing power back to China. They've organized themselves into manufacturing sector. Do you know one person, one manufacturer in the world cannot produce the plastic bags that companies like Walmart uses? Nobody in the world has that capacity. So the purchasing power is divided among hundreds of suppliers. But the standardization, they're going to produce the same thing with the same standard. So again, that's the next. So let's say the quality is there, like you talked about. The value addition is happening. The challenge we have, if we want to remove the middle players, is the capacity. If I want 1 million pieces of product, t-shirt out of Aba, how do we do that? That's the question mark.
Okay, now let me try to understand. Answer that question, because we also appreciate that challenge. Now, for us in Export Promotion Council, we relate mostly with trade groups and associations. We always tell people to go get into cooperative. yes, we will register individual, but it is always done better because we found out that in that trade groups and associations, you share the risk, you share everything. So we encourage these things, partnerships, network. For instance, in the real sense of it, in apparel manufacturing, it's only one. Somebody can be making the collar of a shirt, only the collar. This is one. This other one, just the cuffs. So if you have those, I was talking with a lady in Lagos, OSC, I think, when we're talking about these things, I remember during this COVID, somebody asked me to get a quote for face mask. So I asked her, they wanted to use it for the US military, the quote. So I told her, listen, you need this, you need that. How can you, what is your capacity? He said, this is my capacity, but I have this other downline. And there's a particular, though the thing is scale through, there's a particular standard and gauge that you must meet. Because it doesn't matter where this is coming from. If it's in an association, it is a lot easier to achieve that. Or you have partnerships who understands the kind of the contract that you have. So these are the things we promote. We insist on that. For instance, this lady, I think, is it this lady that does rough and tumble? Sometimes you get partnership, okay, train them in some of these other, technical expertise for this. Yes, she's already established, but you have people, I think from Sri Lanka and the rest, who also say, okay, yes, above all, you've done this, but these are some of the, what do you call it, best practices in the world. So we also get such technical assistance to also bring the people in these trade groups. By the way, we also have what we call the AGOA Resource Center for apparel. We have people that are trained in that place, where you can remain there, but you need to get a training and get the specification of what it is. So you understand the same thing, you speak the same language with the people. So whoever gets a business, or he can get into that place knowing that there are lots of people, thousands of people that have gone through that training and they know. They can use that as a common facility center to have everything standardized. These are some, not only in apparel, even in other product, other commodities and agri-commodities. When you go through associations, you'll be able to get the people with, okay, in clusters, you say, okay, that also will help in the aspect of traceability. Because if you get in batches and in clusters, and if anything happened there, you can always lay hand on, oh, this is from this place. But again, the strength is in the number of the people in that cluster or in association that they have. And they understand this trade and they speak the same language. They understand what, the quality specifications that is. So it is a lot easier when it gets into such environment, not people individual doing it on their own.
Wow. So I also would love, I don't know, Honorable Francis, if you can jump in, because part of that, what you talked about in terms of the equipment you bought for Enugu and all of that, that in my mind, that should be investment strategy. Like, what's investment strategies NIPC using to push into your space? Because that capacity is currently divided. How do we aggregate it? Because for me, that's our work. Like that's why for me, partnering with you and the work we're doing behind the scene, that's the ultimate. We know what the future needs to look like you and I, we know where we're getting to, but there are steps. Like that's why I talked about yesterday, being patient. I've learned patience so much. It's like things don't happen just overnight, but if we have a strategy, if you have an end goal, at least we can start bringing people together, we can start engaging. So Honorable Francis, would you like to jump in, or I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
Sir Arnold said I don't like being on the
no,
spot, but
no, it's fine. Can you,
yes, I want to. I'm trying, because your video is not on. I'm not able to put you on spotlight. So if you change to your video, I can spotlight you, sir. Aha. Oh, I've added you, but I still don't see your face. But you can hear your voice, sir.
Okay, let me just chip in one. Can you hear me? Before you call the call.
Okay. Oh, we're losing you. Honorable Francis, we're losing you. Okay, now we see you. Welcome.
I can see how fresh my guys look.
Thank you very much.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Arnold. Yeah, good evening, everybody, or good morning, depending on where you are. I think, the conversation has been very good so far. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
It's been very good, and you've mentioned some key points. I think let me start from the last point. And you were spot on when you mentioned contracts and the timeline when you're dealing with international, the scale that you need to operate at when you want to do international trade. So, and yes, we produce all these products that we talk about, but not at the scale that we need to. So the second point to bear in mind is that hello, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So even locally, the likes of when we had an engagement as part of the AfCFTA sensitization, one of in Lagos, one of the participants got up and said, he has an agreement with ShopRite to supply their stores in Nigeria, all the stores in Nigeria, and he cannot cope. He doesn't have the capacity. So that talks to a critical element of what we need to do. And we have, and I think there's space for everybody, middlemen and so on, there's space for everybody to play. Because what you want is for people to focus in their small area and then pass it on to the other person to focus. Why is that critical? Because most of our producers, most of our businessmen and women are SMEs. If you think about it, even the documentation you need to do international trade takes time. It takes some level of knowledge to do. So from that cost and time to comply with the rules of origin and all of that, with that, the international standards requirements and all of that, it is important that those that have the capacity to take on this task, have this task and take them on. So what we are doing at the National Action Committee, the study is ongoing, is how do we aggregate what is happening at SME levels? Because it's a two-way street. You need to have the bigger companies or corporates with the capacity to go to market and then link them to the SMEs who they would provide the standards they will work on and make sure that they stick to those standards, and also be sure that they produce the products at the quality and quantity that the corporates need to be able to meet their contracts with the rest of the world. And I'm happy you mentioned that it is something that will take time, but it is critical. We produce all these things that we're talking about, but the reason why a lot of them are informal is because we are producing at a very low scale. So it's something that we are working on. It's something that AfCFTA provides us the opportunity to do. And Arnold and his team, Arnold is talking about what he's doing on a regional level. Arnold has been very busy on the services side as well. When he tells you about the services that go with even the products, you see the scale of what we need to do, and the opportunities are immense. The standardization as well, again, part of the way we are looking at the standardization, the packaging, and so on, is that you can't travel outside Nigeria without your passport. Similarly, our products can't travel to any other country without those certification and standards. So those are their passports, and that's how we are treating them. And we're working very closely with the Standards Organization of Nigeria, NAFDAC, a Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, and the private sector to re-establish the technical committee that would have that will work with the private sector to certify Nigerian products to international standards so that these products can go. And what we also know is that the standards that we need to work on to supply Africa is the same standards that you need to supply America, the EU, and so on. So by focusing on AfCFTA, right, we are also indirectly, but more fundamentally, focusing on the rest of the world. But we have that platform, we have that preferential area that we are targeting, and we must do all of these in parallel. I like your point about trade and development at local level, and I'm so happy. I heard Honorable One, I think, talk about what he's doing between Kano and Lagos. It is important. It is very, very important, because as you build the skill and as you trade and grow and learn, then you're building the capacity that you can now take to the external market. So all these things are going, and really it tells you that we are not standing still. And as you said, oil is on its way out, even if not because of climate change. I mean, because of climate change, there's a lot happening in the renewable space as well. So really, we have no choice but to take on this route that we have taken, and a lot is happening. Like the cashew that Arnold talked about earlier, they are still growing in the wild. So this is money. You can then say that Nigerian bushes are paved with gold because they're all growing in the wild. When we start with what is going on, when we start harnessing them and start improving on their yield and so on, it will pretty much just take off. So I think I would say that I'm happy with all that is happening, and I'm happy with all the points. And it is critical that we keep working at these things. We are doing our bit at the National Action Committee. We're working, the aggregation study I mentioned is a study that we are doing with NEPC. There's another study that we are doing with NEPC, which is around the value chain. So we take cocoa, for example. Now, if you look at cocoa beans, and yes, there's a lot. We've doubled our export of cocoa bean. But if you look at the value chain of cocoa, right, then all of a sudden, I don't know if I can share my screen. Is it possible?
Yes, I believe so. You have panelist access.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look for it. Okay, if I still have it. But if you look at the value chain of cocoa, all of a sudden the market changes from $1 billion to $5 billion. So these are some of the opportunities that are there, and a lot is being done. A lot still needs to be done to realize them. And like you said, we are in a marathon race, not a sprint. But all this information, all this sensitization, people need to know about it. And another key point to know from Arnold, what Arnold said, is that the equipment he's talking about, he didn't say that they cost $1 billion. No. There are equipment that in tens of thousands or hundreds or thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, which people can come together as a group and buy. And we are where we are. We are SMEs, so we work with our structure as they are today and grow and win with them. So it's not only when we build a massive factory that we will win with export. It's about this aggregation, making sure that everybody come and take your small area, play and do the best that you can do there. You get paid as and when do, and you move on. Everybody, we don't need the 200 million Nigerians exporting, but we need the 200 million Nigerians focusing on either the products or services in a small area. I think I'll stop here.
Wow. I want to, for everybody, I want to formally introduce you, Honorable Francis Anatogu is the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Nigeria on Public Sector Matters and the Secretary of the National Action Committee on the AfCFTA, and is representing Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry on this platform today. So let me just officially welcome you. And I mean, everything you just talked about is music to my ears because it's about productivity. You talked about 200 million. It's about productivity. And just case in point, I worked for the world's largest company, Walmart, and it employs 2.2 million people globally, but annual sales of $500 billion. So I have seen what can happen when there is real leadership and the power of people is put behind a common vision and a solid strategy. 2 million people equal to 500 billion. What can 200 million people in Nigeria do? That is why I am excited. In my previous world, I used to coordinate about 24 executives. Individually, they are managing $3 billion business, But one thing that I noticed that I had to coordinate is power play, right? You have power dynamics. When you have independently powerful individuals or organizations or parastatals or agencies or ministry, power play. But what then happens is we had a centralized program management office that would be pulling the strings and orchestrating those individuals. Because if they are left by themselves, it's like what Chinua Achebe said, things fall apart when the center cannot hold. We need powerful structures, we need powerful ministries, but there has to be an orchestrating body that manages the vision and the mission and the strategy that harnesses the forces of this industry. That is one of the things that I'm saying. We need platforms for dialogue. We need engaged leadership and to marshal all of the things I'm hearing here. Things are happening. Work is happening. That's why strategically the individuals and the honorable speakers that we brought to this platform, it's enough of talk. For me, it's action. Action. What is going on? Who is doing what? How can we partner? How can we engage? And that's why we've received so many amazing feedback, because this conversation doesn't stop here. And Honorable Nicholas Ella out of the New York office is being a great partner for this platform. And I've also started engaging with him to say, we cannot wait one more year to keep, because between the people here, things can happen. Things can happen. So that's my own thought process as what's next. So Honorable Anno, please, you wanted to, I can see your face. Sometimes I read faces. Please jump in.
When Honorable Francis has spoken, he's an embodiment of this, and I really appreciate this, especially something that is very, the fact that I earlier on talk about doing these things does not preclude that you don't need the middlemen. They are on their own because of some logistics, like dealing with the SMEs. The SMEs may not be able to go to the bank aggregate this or do this and get all the things in the bed. The SMEs concentration will be on the production of whatever product they are focusing on. So that aggregation, you know, we also work through aggregators because it's the work of that. Like this place I mentioned is, we're looking for, there's an aggregator we are trying, you know, we are talking with to have an MOU. The aggregator, if it gets in there, the women will bring in their cashew, do all the things they want to do. Their business is to get this cashew and get into that place. The aggregator will now begin to talk about the quality. It's important. It's a chain. It's a value chain. We can't, I'm not saying we cannot, you know, do without this. They are very important, but it's only when it becomes exploitative. That's where we're a little bit worried. But when you have an aggregator, an agent also that says, okay, I'm going to do this. You have an MOU with them, with the SMEs, and then that's perfect because, you know, in outsourcing, that's to me, it's like an outsourcing. You can't do all, I can't do all. This is my core competence. Let me concentrate on that core competence. This is what I need other people to leverage. And that at the end of the day, everybody goes on without too much headache. So it's important. We work through aggregators and you know, centers like that. It's very key. And for us for us to actively be engaged in the AfCFTA, we need that. We really need that, and it's important for us. The capacity.
Yes.
Incidentally, we're talking. You know why we don't? My chief executive one day said something. He said, "We all we produce, we export. We do. Do we have the culture of consuming some of these things? Wow. The cocoa. We don't even have. We just cocoa bean is it's of recent that people started, you know, producing cocoa powder, and you found out it's very healthy. So if we step up the production, you know, because we also consume, then it will be a little bit more, you know. So we need to do that. Wow. Then Honorable Francis mentioned something that is very key. I raised that issue with some people, and I said we can't overrule the work of the usefulness of the research institute. The trees, some of them are old, some of them needs replacement, some of them needs to, you know, a hybrid of what, instead of the normal 4, 5, 6, 7 years, something that would take a shorter gestation period. Because if we must do, it's a deliberate thing. You plan to, you know, shorten the lifespan of these trees so that you continuously have something to, but if you have to wait for 5 years, 6, 7 years. Now in cocoa, they've succeeded in bridging that in the year this is. So in cocoa now, you have the improved species that can take about 18 months to start fruiting, but maybe 36 for it to mature, against the 6, 7 years period. So the research institutes are very key, and we should also try as much as possible to take them, carry them along in some of this, because they will help, you know, in all this. Yes, we have them in abundance, but then we still need to research into how we can get some of these ones, you know, shorter and shorter for us to benefit.
Yeah, I see Barrister Kola where he just noted that he would like to jump in and make a comment. Please, Barrister Kola, are you there? Unmuted. Let me join the conversation. He is the chairman of Nasima Export Group, and he was one of our esteemed speakers yesterday. Please, sir, you just noted that you wanted to jump in, and I acknowledge I just want to acknowledge the chats and the questions and the comments that is being dropped. I want to acknowledge, you know, right now some of the I'll read it out, but Barrister Kola, please.
Thank you very much. I just I've listened to the both speakers, who are very wonderful set of people. Arnold, my very good friend, and Chief Anthony, and Mr. Francis. Basically, we're still. I believe that we all of us here, we understand the challenges and we understand the problems, which there is no doubt about that. Now the problem is, where do we go from here? What are those things that we need to put in place? What are those structures that we need to run? It's Nigeria. We have enough policies, but we need enough executions of those policies. And if you ask me, one of the first things I want to say, and I've said it in one or two forums, is that if I have the power, I'll turn Nigerian Export Promotion Council from being a promotion council to a trade facilitation council. Away, enough of promotions. This is now time for them to do a little bit more when it comes to trade facilitation. We give them power to go into joint venture, to go into stakeholders and partnerships so that we can push non-oil export forward. Then in the course of the two speakers, you know, they identified the same major problem: quality, made in Nigerian goods, difficulty in accessing international market. Then this brings to fore the role of diaspora. It is also very good. It is always very good when products are market driven. When the demand is coming from the market. If the diaspora wakes up today and say they are interested in pushing made in Nigerian products, two things happen. They are aware of the parameters of the quality. They are aware of the import restrictions, import demand, import rules, import procedure, which an average exporter does not have. Then they come in from that angle and come to the country and say, this is what we want.
Yes.
Now it becomes easier for the cooperative thing to work. It becomes easier for exporter to key into it because they have the parameter in place, including all the certifications and quality that they need. So that is one major role, which is one of the reasons why we have in the conference, that diasporans should start looking at those loopholes, those opportunities, those demands, and take advantage of them. For example, let's look at Ola Ola. Ola Ola knows that flour, poundo yam is basically African food. It comes to Nigeria, takes the raw, goes to America, package it well, and sell it all over the world. The man is selling all over the place. The same thing with Olu Olu. Why? They came with the idea of market driven. They're coming from America, they're coming from Europe, and they look at the demands and they're able to meet up with it. Then in the absence of that, if the diasporans are not working, how do we work on the private sector? That the next structure we need to consider seriously, which we're already doing, is the trade house. The trade house will push the product to them in the market. They'll see it. And because the product is in an institution, they will have a little bit of credibility and trust, and the capacity can be discussed, and continuity can be discussed, quality can be discussed, and then we come back home. We make it another market driven again to say, okay, we have this demand XY, and we need to organize our market so that our production, so that we can meet with the demand. To solve international access to international market, we need the diasporans like anything, and then we need the establishment of regional or global trade house driven by Nigeria in collaboration with any other country that they are working with. Then another thing that came to fore basically here is the issue of informal export. Like I want to say to Chief Tony, you are sitting on a gold mine in Kano, believe you me. And I believe God has placed you in that role to see that gold mine and open it up, and then you yourself, you'll be shocked as to what you have in place in Kano. Kano, the Wanu market in Kano is the biggest, largest West African agro-commodity market in West Africa, in Africa as a whole. There is no market as big as that market. Every manufacturers, both small, medium in the food and the food-related industry, depends on that market. Every exporter of agro-commodity depends on that market. I visit the market or something. I just came out from Kano like three weeks ago. I go there, purchase my export products. Everybody comes in there. So that's one area that Kano need to look into. The major problem there, why Kano is not getting the revenue that they need to get, is the level of informal exports that take place in Kano, the Wanu market. Thousands, I'm not saying hundreds, thousands of trucks are loaded every day, and they find their way into Niger, they find their way through Maradi, they find their way into Burkina, they find their way into Cote d'Ivoire with onion, with garlic. They move like in droves. If Chief can really look at that market and see how he can form a linkage between the aggregators in that market and the end user, which are the large industries in Nigeria, then there'll be a lot of backward integration in terms of capacity building, in terms of income generation, in terms of poverty alleviation for people in Kano. So those are the key areas that I just want to make some level of input. Then in the textile industry, we're currently working similar to what everybody have said here. In our last meeting on the textile industry, we're coming up with a training, same side with the cooperative. The cooperative is going to train, we're going to put an advert in the paper looking for people that want to be trained. And they will train them in specific areas of garments. And every one of them that is trained will be part and parcel of the cooperative. So that in any case, any of the large exporters have a big order. They know who and who and who and who that they need to call, that they need to bring in to come and sew a specific area of that garment or the textile, because they have been trained by that same cooperative. So those are the kind of things we're looking at also at the NASIMA Export Group in order to form collaboration and stakeholders meeting.
Yes.
So that's just my small input. Thank you.
And thank you, Barrister Kola, for pulling me into. I follow the conversations in the textile. Again, I'm practicing patience. I'm practicing patience because, you know, few years ago, I spoke to the CEO of Walmart and I was like, Nigeria, buy more from Nigeria. And he said, what does Nigeria want to sell? I was like, I'll be right back. And then I said, this. He was like, okay, show us. But you know our capacity, you know our requirement. Don't just bring anything here. So right now, I'm like, let's go back home, do our mobilization capacity development, because the powers that be, they are ready to see. Because for me, for years, I've been saying trade with Africa, and they're watching me. Even the senior vice president of Global Sourcing said, Toyin, I know you've been talking to us. Like, where is that capacity? Where is that volume? I'll be right back. For me, I'm like, I'll be right back.
Yes.
We still have some work to do back home. I'll be right back. All that thoughts right there. So for me, that's the challenge I'm saying, is that we have open channels of conversation with the biggest players. I have my name and my brand to protect. And the reason this platform was created is to fast track and accelerate all this work.
So you'll be shocked. We have members, about 3 members that have gotten orders in the past for 10,000 units, 5,000 units. They went for trade show in UK, and the first question they asked them, where's your line sheet? And can you produce XY? And that was like, they were just like looking like this. Those are the bases where we're coming up with it. Yes, that's why we're coming up with these strategies now. The strategies is going to be like, we're going to train a lot of them, put them in a pool of human resource, and have them within the same cooperative. They are going to be members and part and parcel of the same cooperative. So even the issue of a staff leaving one staff to go to the other staff, those all will be off, because somebody is migrating from one person to the other person because of salary increase. There's a pool of resources already in place, so they can equally call somebody else within the pool to take over the place of the designer or the cutter or the sewer. So we're working on it. So I want to appeal to you. They should give us a little bit of time.
Oh yes,
and
yes.
We're coming up. We're coming up, and we're coming up very fast. You will see the advert. You're part of it. Your name is going to be on the advert too, so that people know that we're serious about what we're doing in terms of access to market and everything.
For me, so I've had to come up with 2 strategies. One strategy is, yes, I know work is going on, and I'm saying let's move towards the bigger player, because I know what the bigger play. I led that, so I cannot present anything to them that is not at the quality and the exceptionality that is expected. But in the interim, what I've also done, and I've shared this with you personally, is for the SMEs. I just launched my own brand on Amazon, meaning even if you don't have the capacity, we've opened the channel under which we can start your textile as they are producing, because you have to walk your way. I mean, we have to crawl before we run, before we jog, before we sprint. Yes. So whatever. So that's why for me, patience is being my motto now. It's like, okay, calm down. Yes, we want to go for the bigger. That's the future. I've seen the future. The systems that I help build, they are live auctions that China is participating in. They bid live. We'll just open the bid and say, hey, we want to buy for 2021, 2022. This is the buying we want to do. And then Chinese firms will come on and say, we can produce this, this is our capacity. And they're negotiating. There are times we do forward auction, reverse auction. They will be bidding against themselves. I can produce this at this price. Because when I even say there is buying opportunity, it is the word I want to use is, it is extremely competitive. Because this is not oil. That's why we say non-oil. In oil, Nigeria has a upper hand, because people cannot just say, oh, yeah, if you don't play with us, we'll go elsewhere. No, they will say, we want your oil. What are your terms? So they will play to the terms of Nigeria. It's now reversed in the non-oil space, because global buyers have options. If you don't, Vietnam, China, Bangladesh, they have options. So we now also have to understand power, the buying conditions. And one thing we have going right now, especially in US markets, because I shared US controls 40% of global wealth, AGOA is underutilized. I have used it and I've seen some of the bottlenecks of what's going on. But AGOA is US attempt to say, we will reduce tariff. Instead of charging you 15, 20% on your textile, we'll bring it down to 0. But our non-tariff barriers remain high. Standards, if you're bringing in agriculture, FDA, just like NAFTA. So all of those things is what Nazaru is helping. So thank you again. Yes, we know where we're going, right? We know what the future looks like. We know the game plan. But in the interim, we also want to start opening channels for the SMEs through channels like, Amazon's, right? They may not require the volume, but if you can standardize, we can start bringing things and putting it and marketing it on Amazon.
Those are the things we're looking at. We're looking at smaller buyers.
Smaller,
like Zara.
yes.
Smaller Zara that want 5,000, 1,000. Those are the we're looking at. Yeah, we're looking at those ones. Then quietly we start scaling up production for them to get to the
yes.
So that we're working on it. Like I said.
Yes, I know. Trust me. That's why I'm saying the doers. We talked about not just policies, like you said. Let's do and honor Sir Arnold too. Part of my conversations with him too is the mobilization of the work. So you have us. Leverage our platform to activate this.
With the letter coming up, with the AfCFTA coming up now, Morocco is going to send their letter, finished products to Nigeria. Then a lot of finished product letters in Nigeria, and leather products in Nigeria, they're going to face a lot of competition. And Nigeria being what we are.
Yes.
We want to go for Moroccan leather products.
I agree with you,
Mr.
Awa.
I want to go for Moroccan. So it's right time that we start opening up the market for these leather people with made in Nigerian products, put it made in Nigerian label, put it right in front of their face. Let them know our potentials. Let them know that some of these things you're calling Moroccan leather was brought from here. By the time we have a trade house that slap this thing on them, and the trade house is manned by their own people. If I'm in the Morocco trade house, I put Moroccan staff there. He speaks the language of Nigeria to them, and that's the way to go. They build the confidence in their people. They try the first one, try the second one, try the third one, and they say, this is the way to go.
Wow.
I said it 2 ways. It's either the diaspora comes in and gives us the market requirement, or we just go in and slap products on their face, quality products.
Toyin, there was an aspect that was touched on by Mr. Jackson.
This conversation will not just stop like most of us have agreed.
I didn't get that. Honorable Anthony, please go on.
Okay, so there was an aspect that was touched on by Mr. Jackson on the value chain. One of the things the Kano State government has done is to invite, if you remember during the Ruga crisis when the cattle heading and everything, the Kano State government asked the cattle rearers to bring their cattle to Kano. Now, strategy, like I mentioned, every state needs to have a strategy. The strategy is simple. Bring them to me, I have land, I will take care of them. Now, Kano State is building an end-to-end process. The cattle's coming, as in he has already gone to the to China, to Dubai, to get loans, to buy the equipment. The cattle's coming, we have a processing plant, value chain. So you have the animals, then an abattoir where you get meat, an abattoir where you get meat, an abattoir where you get meat, then you get milk, then hides for leather, then horn for medicine. So it's a chain. It's a chain. So where other people are seeing the negative part of the Ruga idea, Kano State has already started building a process, an end-to-end process. Bring your cows to me. If you remember what the chairman of the Tannery Association mentioned, he said one of the issues they face in the leather industry is because people are consuming more leather as pomo. So they can't get huge leather, you know, stuff that, because even people are exporting it for more. So we keep consuming the pomo, so the leather is not enough for them to export out there, you know. So with that value chain process, end-to-end process Kano State is building, we, like I said, it's milk, it's meat, it's hides, it's horn for medicine, the hooves for medicine, the bones for medicine. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. You know, I just thought I should put that in because Mr. Jackson mentioned it. So yes, strategy is key to approach where we're going to.
Yes.
The right strategy.
Wow.
Is key.
Yes. So I want to quickly shift. I know we went over, but I let it run deliberately because I was going to have some Q&A after, but I allowed it to come in now. So permit us and give us a few more minutes. I want to now quickly switch gears. So thank you, Sir Arnold, for your amazing contribution. This conversation moves on. You have my support and we'll continue our engagement offline. We also have to figure out the best way to keep, because the dynamic of this powerful delegation we have is incredible. So we'll continue exploring what to do as next steps. So now I'm going to switch a little bit, change a little bit. I'm going to bring on Madam Awa Mustafa. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to now switch. Let me take the spotlight to her so that I can introduce her. Okay, Awa, I'm going to bring you to the spotlight. Oh, Madam Awa Mustafa is an educationist. She's an education consultant. She leads the Teach Africa today, and she's going to be sharing with us about the Northern Nigeria, education in the Northern Nigeria, the women, and then youth empowerment. And I'll let you introduce and share more, but it's such an honor. She's based here in the US, but she's an incredible force in mobilizing the Northern youth and women. She's considered a mentor, a coach to a lot of people. So welcome to the platform. Please, you have this moment to just crystallize and share with us your perspective, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Hawa Mustafa Babra. Babra is a small town out of the old Kano, current Jigawa state. I've been living in the United States since I was 17 years old. And now the best thing I share with people is my age. I'm over 50. I like that. I have 4 children that are grown and mostly gone. And my passion for education stemmed from my background, having to come from a family of educators. And so I have been, dealing with children all my life. As you know, we always take care of our siblings and our aunties' kids. And that's how I started getting involved in taking care of children. And so ever since my life in the United States, my husband and I came here. He was a student. I've been babysitting students' children. Up until now, I have my own business. It's a childcare business. So I started my career without any educational background, but skills and experience. And then after that, I was able and the opportunity to go to school, and then added the book smart to my skills. And also that's what connected me to the youth in Nigeria. I understand that a lot of the youth, specifically from northern part of Nigeria, may have some, education, but not necessarily skill, like experience in work. And this is what is devastating the youth. So I have been advocating for women's rights and children's rights, you know, online since for the past 2 years. Currently, what drawn me to helping youth in Nigeria is really the current issue about the NSARS. When that, was all over the news, it was devastating. And I was looking in and I said, oh my God, what can we do? What can we do? So I started a movement mainly on Instagram. I just titled it, What is the Positive Way Forward? And that really drawn a lot of youth, specifically from northern part of Nigeria, to connect with me. And because they realize I am someone who listened to them and allowed their voices to be heard. So through that platform, I was able to learn a lot of the youth issues. And talking about issues, I then realized it's just like a trade. And that's what brought me here today. Our youth, their issues, you know, why they are stagnating in life is just like all the things that gentlemen here, respective gentlemen were speaking, is value added to what we currently have. Their lives are stagnant because there is no way that their voice are being heard and they don't have support. What they have is adult telling them what to do. We, the adults, are not realizing that time has changed. We will not be able to raise our youth like the way we were raised because it's a different time. It's a different era. So having said that, I want to retract back and talk a little bit about my educational background. Now, I have my associate degree, my bachelor's degree, my master's, all in early childhood education. And currently, I am doing my doctoral program again on early childhood education. So early childhood education, you can't go through it without tapping into a lot of psychology and, the growth and development of children. And so early childhood education is also not a study of babies only. It goes all the way to certain level of adulthood. So we study a lot about adolescents and young adults. So through my endeavor on my education, I worked a lot with children here in the United States. We do a lot of volunteer work in the Kansas City Housing Authority. We visited a lot of prison, talking to young adults and finding out why they are there and their type of walk of life. So connecting with the Northern Nigerian youth, I come up with an idea thinking that a lot of youth in the 21st century have one thing in common or several things in common. So comparing the youth here in Kansas City, Missouri, because I cannot say in the United States because I only work with youth here in Kansas City, Missouri.